I don't know what just happened there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rewatchers Council MCU edition. I'm Adelia. I'm here with my buddy Shug. We're going to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home today, which they named Far From Home and No Way Home so similarly that like I interchange the two of them all the time. But we're talking about Far From Home, the second Spider-Man movie in the MCU today, and I'm excited to do this one. So, Shug, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Excited for this one too. We got a couple good movies and shows coming up that we're going to talk about on the Rewatchers Council. So I'm really excited about that, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it.
All right, great. Let's see here. We're on the shorts feed as well, but the stream looks very strange. So if you're watching us on the shorts feed, head on over to the regular YouTube channel because it would look normal on the regular YouTube channel. Anyways, we are going to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home today. Shug, did you see this one in the theaters?
No, I think I saw it after it came out of the theaters. I wasn't. I think when it was 2019.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I did see it in theaters. I took Ben. Yeah, never mind. I did go see it in theaters.
Okay. I saw this one in the theaters too. It came out. This was the first movie after Endgame, and I remember everybody was like, "How are they ever? When are they ever going to release a trailer for Far From Home?" And it was because they had to wait until everybody knew Tony died before they could release the trailer. So I remember that about it. What was your initial reaction on the movie?
My initial reaction, I mean, I liked it. It felt so different from Tobey Maguire's second movie, whereas the second one was super like dark and very dreary, and this one was kind of very dreary, kind of real world, especially with the ending of this movie. But it still was like fun, comic booky, whereas like Toby's was real like a little different. So I liked it. I've liked all of Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies. I think Tom Holland's done great as Spider-Man. I grew up with Toby, so Toby is obviously one of my favorites. But I did enjoy what Tom had done with the character.
Yeah, I like what Tom does with the character too. I think he is my favorite of the Spider-Men that we've had so far. Not that Toby wasn't great, and I also think is a very underrated Spider-Man. But Tom just embodies Peter Parker in a way for me that the other two never quite got to. I mean, Toby, it's just a fact that he always looked much older than a teenager for me in the original Spider-Man
Right?
trilogy, the Raimi trilogy. He
Yeah.
just doesn't look like a high school student. He
Yeah.
looks like he was, not even a college student. He looked like he was in his mid 30s. So, that always threw me off on the Raimi trilogy. I love the Raimi trilogy, but it always threw me off on the Raimi trilogy. And Andrew Garfield, a little closer in age to that, looking like a teenager, but still to me looked older than a teenager. So Tom Holland comes in and he's not a teenager in these movies, but he looks like a teenager. He looks young.
Yeah.
So that I really appreciate about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. And I do like for Brand New Day that we've seen the trailer. We have a trailer reaction for Spider-Man Brand New Day on the channel now, so go check that out. I do like that he looks older now. He looks like he's out of high school and 4 years passed and like ready to graduate college if he was attending college. You know what I mean? So I like that about Tom Holland Spider-Man. My initial thoughts on this movie were I like that they um progress the MJ and Peter relationship. I like that they address the blip in all the funny ways. I had completely forgotten that they play I Will Always Love You over the opening Marvel credits to this movie because that's what they used in the tribute video at Peter's school. That is the first thing we see after the Marvel credits for the Avengers who died. And I thought it was just so funny. We've got this like really like MS Paint PowerPoint kind of presentation at the beginning of this movie with the school broadcast on the blip and just basically catching us up on where everybody was at after the blip if you were a high school student, which is some people that were younger than you are now older than you, and that's really weird. And I imagine that would be really strange to come back to as a teenager if you were gone for 5 years. All the people you were in school with that didn't get blipped would have graduated by that point. And now here you are with all these younger kids who are now some of them older than you. That had to be super weird.
Yeah, I love the way they explained it and how they went about it. And like you're right, like you don't think about that, and the fact that they explained it the way they did was actually pretty cool, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And the school broadcast brought me back to the school broadcast that we used to have at my school. Ours were just audio. We never had the video. So for them to have the video and everybody just like talking, walking, wandering the halls, and here's the TV on the wall with the school broadcast going on, that was really cool. Um, how do you feel about the fact that this one pretty much isn't set in New York, though? We're in New York a little bit, but we're mostly in Europe.
I like it. It takes Spider-Man out into the real world, even though New York, is his main area. It expands his universe. Even though he was in space, but it expands his area.
Yeah, I think that the fact that it's in Europe is great. I do understand people complaining about how like we've had a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who's almost never in the neighborhood. So in this movie, I understand the school trip, and I like the fact that they had the school trip in this. I don't see how you could have done Mysterio and the Elementals in New York. So you had to
Yeah.
take them to locations where, Venice makes sense for the water elemental and all of this stuff. So I think that it works out as a location for this movie. Greg in the chat saying, you guys look great. Enjoy the watch along. Greg always thinks these episodes that we do on Rewatchers Council will be a watch along, and they're not. But thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Um,
but also too, I think you hit the head on the nail. That's what high schoolers do. They travel, especially, you know, very gifted kids. They get to go to other countries and
mhm.
explore and go because of educational reasons and things like that. So, 100%. Like, I like that. It made it feel real. If they
Yeah.
were just stuck in New York, it'd be like, okay, whatever. But it made it feel real. Like, oh yeah, he's in high school, or he's in high school. He's gonna go to Europe for a trip, for a school trip. That's what
Mhm.
high schoolers do. So it made
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it made sense to me too. Um, I loved some of the character developments that we had, like how Flash is like a YouTuber or a TikToker. He's just always streaming stuff on his phone and making like videos and stuff. I thought that was hysterical. And we had the new kid Brad, who wasn't really in the first movie. I don't remember him because he was so young. Because he wasn't blipped, so he was like an 11-year-old who's now a 16-year-old. That's got to be so weird for them, like knowing him as an 11-year-old, and you come back and he's like grown that much, because you're very different from when you're 11 to when you're 16.
Facts.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about some of the biggest moments in the movie. What was one of them for you, Shug? Um, yeah.
Some of the big moments for me. I mean, are we going spoilers?
Oh yeah, it's a full spoiler review.
Okay. Well, one of the big moments was the fact that Mysterio used the fear of losing Tony against Peter, and
Yeah.
that really got to him. Like that was like PTSD. He lost somebody he really cared about. I think that was a big moment. The using of the glasses and the technology, because if you're like me, a '90s Spider-Man, cartoon watcher, Mysterio was this illusionist that worked in film and things. So they were like, how
Mm-hmm.
are you going to do that? And they used this technology, and then all Tony's technology, and they tied that in. So that was pretty cool. And then the fact that you got to see more spider sense. I like that. Like, we didn't get that in the first movie. You saw it in Infinity War, and It was kind of cool. And then they almost took what I loved, which was the 90s Spider-Man, and how in this comic book he would like flash in his head, and we'll obviously talk about another movie, but it really expanded upon that, and I love that. And he had to rely on that to get through to get through what Carson Beck was trying to do with and using
Quentin
illusions.
Beck.
Quentin Beck, sorry, I don't know why I said Carson Beck. Quentin Beck, and I really enjoyed that. So, the fact that they they used that in this movie was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the way that they did all of Mysterio's like effects and things, and he had all these projectors all over the place and all this stuff. I like how they tied it into the technology that Tony showed off in Civil War, which I don't know the full name of it, but he gave it the acronym of BARF, and that one of the reasons why he wanted the glasses and control of Edith so badly was because of the fact that Tony had named this technology he'd worked his life on BARF. I thought that was really funny. Um, I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was great as Mysterio. Like, he's just the right amount of smarmy that he can be convincing as like a good guy when he's really not. Loved that. And I loved the fact that he wasn't ready to call himself Mysterio. And then he gets the name basically from Peter. You knew from the 90s cartoon about Mysterio. I knew from a couple of comics that I'd read about Mysterio. Ferris, who's not feeling well and therefore isn't with us here tonight, didn't know what Mysterio's deal was. So when he sees this movie for the first time, he just thought Mysterio was a good guy from another part of the multiverse, and he was really he said that the movie when he was rewatching it earlier didn't hit the same way knowing the twist, and I was thinking to myself, what twist? And I realized it's because I don't consider it a twist that Mysterio is the bad guy in this movie, because I knew he was always going to be the bad guy in this movie. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so that was interesting. Yeah. I really liked all the Peter and MJ moments in this, like how he wanted to get her that Black Dahlia necklace in Venice, and then he was going to tell her in Paris, and they never end up in Paris. But he wanted to get her that Black Dahlia necklace and tell her how he feels about her, and then he's out on the bridge with her in Prague, and he's ready to tell her how he feels, and her whole thing was, uh, MJ, I have something to tell you. And she just goes, I'm Spider-Man. And he's like, what? Like, I love that MJ
Yeah,
figured it out. And I actually think that might play into Brand New Day. Like, if MJ figures it out again in Brand New Day, that might unlock all her memories of Peter. Because if she figures out Peter is Spider-Man, that would break the spell.
yeah, yeah. That would be interesting. Well, that would be definitely interesting to see how they go from here. Um, I know a lot of people didn't like that, and I
Yeah,
know
I'm sure a lot of people didn't like that,
like
but
you
I
know
did.
so it's kind of funny you say that. I I did like Jake Gyllenhaal's character. I wish I was thinking about this when we you told me we were gonna do this. I was like,
Hmm.
I wish his character could have stayed around longer
Yeah,
because
I agree.
he's part of the Sinister Six. And he could still be alive. You never know. You never know.
I mean, we
But
don't know.
yeah, and I'd be okay with it. But I wanted his character because I really want to see the Sinister Six. Like,
Yeah,
there's iconic villains for Spider-Man. Venom is one of them.
yeah.
Carnage, but the Six is one of his biggest ones, and it would be cool to see that in the MCU and how they brought together. They've always teased it. They teased it in the Andrew Garfield movie, and things like that. So it'll be interesting if they bring that, and hopefully, and maybe have Mysterio part of it. But if not, it's understandable. Maybe bring that horrible movie Craven the Hunter over and
Maybe just recast Craven the Hunter
yeah.
and yeah.
That's disgusting movie.
I mean, like, you cannot bring Aaron Taylor Johnson back as Craven the Hunter. I just think you can't. I don't think Marvel would want him as Craven the Hunter. I mean, he was already Quicksilver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You probably have to recast. It'd be a little funny though to bring him back and be like,
It would
hey,
be really funny.
Wanda looks at him, and goes, "You look
Wanda,
familiar."
yeah, yeah. Wanda's like, Pietro?
Yeah,
Like,
and
that
we
would be
and we'll
funny.
actually in the next series we're going to talk about, they actually have that situation. So
Yeah, they actually have that situation, yeah. Yeah, so that's funny. I don't know about what they're going to do about the Sinister Six. They have teased the Sinister Six for so long in different things, and it would really be nice if they would do the Sinister Six. But I want them to do it in the MCU Spider-Man movies, because when Sony tries to make a Spider-Man adjacent movie, it's awful. It's god awful.
it's
I
we've
mean,
seen Madam Web, Morbius, Craven the Hunter. Venom's been okay. Like,
Venom, I think, is the only somewhat successful version of the
but it hasn't
Spider-Man
been great.
adjacent
But it
universe.
hasn't been
But
great.
they're not great, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they haven't been great, and we got that tease that maybe Eddie Brock was going to be, in a
In the
MCU.
MCU.
So, and we didn't really
And
get
then that
that.
just didn't
So
happen.
yeah, stop teasing
Yeah.
us, Marvel.
Um I think Marvel would really just like to do their own stuff in the MCU, but they can't because Sony owns those characters and they only have the deal to share Spider-Man. Um I don't know, man.
I
Like,
know, I know. This is like a different conversation than we were going to start it.
this is a
But
different
like,
conversation than we started on, but it's an important one because you're right. Mysterio is part of the Sinister Six, and I would love to see him come back, and be part of a Sinister Six sort of thing in the MCU. But I don't know if Jake Gyllenhaal would be interested in coming back and have that commitment to a franchise like that. That doesn't really seem like something up his alley. I remember when they told us that he was cast as Mysterio, I was very surprised that he was willing to do that. And then when they killed him off at the end of this movie, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Why would Jake Gyllenhaal agree to do that?
yeah,
So I don't know.
I think if you're Sony though, like you got to look at Marvel and say, look, we've made three bad movies. You've made three really good movies. Venom's in the middle. Let's work out a deal where we still can make some money off of this, but you guys make the movies.
Yeah.
And get it figured out instead of doing this whole, oh well, we own them and we own these characters. Like you're prolonging it because you see as soon as they brought him in, as soon as they gave him some movies, it was success and they made money and
Yeah.
you're making money. Let's just make money and give fans, good movies instead of you putting out Morbius and freaking
Well,
Madam Web. Madam Web is supposed to be a great story with Spider-Man and the multiverse,
it
and they
is
screwed that up.
god awful, that
Sorry, I
movie.
don't mean to
I
get on
saw
my
that.
soapbox.
No, it's okay. I watched Madam Web late at night in a pretty much empty theater with our friends Drew and Eric. And the running commentary from Drew was far more entertaining than that god awful movie was.
Yeah, it was so
Um,
bad. So if you're Sony, come on, give them some more leeway. But
yeah. Back
yeah,
to this movie though. Let's
yeah,
talk
back to the movie.
back to Far From Home. Which of the cities that they went to was your favorite like group of scenes in the movie?
I think when they go when Nick Fury and Maria, I think it's Maria,
It
go
is
to
Maria.
Mexico. Yeah, go to Mexico, and you first see the elementals. Like that was dope because the elementals are, I think, their own version of a villain, and the fact that you saw that, you got to see that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember when the trailer for this movie came out, Koi Jandro was just like freaking out on Collider Heroes about how this was the Elementals, and it was going to be the Elementals, and then it's just all Mysterio's illusions. I was very disappointed in that. Not that the Elementals are like some big, massive characters that we need to like have stick around and all that, but like it would have been cool if it was actually the Elementals and not just this thing that Mysterio had made up. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you remember what they did with us with the Mandarin, so like, should have kind of expected
yeah.
that.
I mean,
Even though now the Mandarin's a
I
great
don't
character.
mind. I do not mind this one at all. I think Trevor Slattery is a great character, and I think the actual Mandarin that Tony Leung played in Shang-Chi was also a great character. He was one of my favorite villains in the MCU. Even though I don't know how much you'd actually count him as a villain in that movie, because he was just a dad that anyways, that's a sidetrack. Let's get back on topic because we've already sidetracked enough. Um, I liked it when Nick Fury and Maria showed up. I did not like it when we found out that that wasn't Nick Fury and Maria.
You didn't like that, really?
I don't like that it's the Skrulls. And you know what? It's even worse now that we've seen Secret Invasion. Like, if they were building up to something really cool with that moment, I would have been like, okay, that makes sense. But for them to now just revealed that that was Talos and his wife Soren, and not Nick Fury and Maria. We don't know what Maria was even doing at that point, and Fury's just up in space chilling. Like, they didn't do enough in Secret Invasion to tell me that that was worth making the characters in this movie not actually be Fury and Hill.
Yeah. The problem that Marvel has is they take these supposed to be long stories and try to shorten them. Secret Invasion,
Yeah.
Age of Ultron was a 2 days of Ultron or a week. All these things. So I agree with you
Yeah.
there. I think if they would have had a better payoff, it would have been better.
Yeah, I think so. And then, like, we didn't get Secret Invasion, I don't think, for 3 years after this movie came out. It might have been 4. I don't remember exact year that Secret Invasion came out. So it, like, didn't pay off quickly enough either. And I know that one of the years in there was the pandemic, so I'll give them, like, okay, there was the pandemic. But, like, it just was too big of a break between, like, this, oh, it's not Fury. Fury's in space. What's going on? And then nothing. Until Secret Invasion, which is perhaps the worst television series Marvel's ever made. I hate it. I hate it so much.
That's a strong opinion.
Yeah, I do. I hate it so much. I think, though, that there's a lot of really good moments in Far From Home. I like it when they're in Prague and Fury's fucking with their trip, and they're supposed to go to Paris, but then all of a sudden they're going to Prague, which is where Fury wants Peter to go, and Peter's like, I think Nick Fury just hijacked our trip. And then they get to Prague, and they're supposed to go to this carnival festival thing that's going on in Prague, but suddenly they have tickets to the opera because they have to be occupied so nobody gets hurt while this whole thing is going on with the elemental. And then Ned and Betty is just a funny thing to me in this movie. They end up sitting together on the plane because the teacher overhears Peter trying to maneuver so he can sit next to MJ and makes Peter sit next to him. And then by the time they land, they're boyfriend and girlfriend. This
Hey,
is such high
love,
school
love,
bullshit.
love, love has no time limit.
And then by the time they get back to New York at the end, they're broken up. It's
I've done the
just
same thing.
it's high school. It
Very much
reminded
high
me so
school.
much of high school. Yeah. But I enjoyed Ned and Betty in this movie. I hope there's more of Betty in Brand New Day. I do like her as a character. Um, but yeah. Let's talk about some of the characters and the consequences of their actions. Peter makes a lot of really dumb mistakes in this movie. It's just
Yeah,
like
he
not
does.
ready for this sort of thing, dumb mistakes. Which
Yeah.
was your one that surprised you the most?
I think given the glasses, you know,
Yeah.
he just for some reason, against his better judgment, just gave him the glasses, and I think that you know he obviously wanted the glasses. You got to be a little smarter. But again, he's in high school. He's not focused on
Yeah.
superhero stuff. He's trying to focus on MJ. So yeah, you would make that mistake. Like asking a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 17-year-old, whatever,
He says he's
to
16 in this movie.
okay, to ask him to bear all this responsibility. Like that'd be pretty hard to deal with, and probably wouldn't be thinking straight. So yeah, he makes a lot of mistakes. But this is why these trilogies have been good, because we're getting to a point now, because we're going to be going into the fourth movie. We've seen this kid grow from a fanboy kid
Hmm.
to a neighborhood friendly spider to going to outer
An
space to
Avenger.
Avenger to the multiverse to make it a big person decision in that movie that we'll talk about eventually, and then now he's what the decisions he made. He's living with those consequences of people don't know who he is, and he's got to live that life, and so I think this that makes it fleshes him out as a character. That's I as much
It
as we love the
does.
Toby movies and everything. Like this is the most fleshed out Spider-Man of all three.
Yeah, I
Even though
agree.
I love,
I
even though I
agree.
love emo Garfield Spider-Man. I love the emo, the skateboarding and stuff. This is the most fleshed out Spider-Man that we got ever.
Yeah, I agree. Peter's had to make some big decisions, and in this movie, he makes a lot of dumb decisions, including when he first puts on the glasses and he's talking to Edith, and then he figures out everything. Like, he can read people's text messages and all kinds of stuff, like with the heads up display in the glasses. And then he puts on the glasses again after Brad catches him trying to change his clothes in the room with that agent that works for Fury, I assume. And he takes a photo because Brad is an asshole and he's going to show MJ. So Peter just wants to get that photo off of Brad's phone, but he doesn't know how Edith works. Tony didn't leave any operating instructions for those classes. So he's like, yeah, Brad's the target. And next thing he knows, Edith's about to shoot him dead with a drone. He's trying so hard to stop that. And like, it cracked me up, that scene. Like, he accidentally punches Flash and knocks him out. Like, there's so much about that scene that's funny. He also gets up, leaps out of the bus, shoots the drone with his webs and gets it knocked off course and taken out, and then gets back down into the bus by distracting them, the entire bus, by saying there's a baby mountain goat. I just found it hysterical. That he managed to do all of that. And like with stuff like that, no wonder MJ noticed. Like, seriously, no
Well,
wonder
yeah.
MJ noticed that he's
Well, I mean,
Spider-Man.
it's very obvious. Like not obvious, but like if you saw a kid just disappearing all the time and things like that, you 100% would be like, wait a minute, you
And every
disappear,
time
Spider
the
Man
kid
shows up.
disappeared, here's Spider-Man. Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, and Spider-Man's doing events with Aunt May in New York. Like,
Like it's
it makes
obvious.
sense. Yeah. Um, let's talk about Aunt May and Happy, because that was something I wasn't expecting. In this movie is
Yeah.
like, they like each other, and Peter's like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? I do like the way that by the end Peter's like, okay, so tell me what's happening, and Aunt May's like, it was a summer fling, and Happy's like, we'll see where it goes. They're on two totally
I
different
mean,
pages.
Marissa Tomei. I mean, shoot. I wish I would get a fling with her, man. I honestly, and we'll talk about this in the next movie. I love this version of Anime, and I didn't know
She's
like
great.
The Anime and the Happy is like kind of like a just a kind of throw-in story, but I like what they did with the character. I like what they did with Happy because Happy's dealing with a lot. He lost his friend, and he's looking
Yeah.
at Peter, and he knows that Peter meant something to Tony, so he's making sure he's there for Peter the way Tony would have been there for him, and so
Yeah.
it's a good relationship our characters with Happy and Aunt May, and I really do like what they did with Aunt May in these movies, and you'll again we'll talk about this in the next movie, but you feel that weight of her presence and how much she means to Peter, and so
Yeah.
it was good to see her kind of get a little story in this movie. Again, probably something throwaway that they threw in, but I did like what they did with it.
Yeah, I agree. I like Happy a lot as a character. I have since the first Iron Man. He went from, security guy who's like Tony's best friend to like building his way up to being like this thing where he can call Nick Fury and he can give him a coded message and Nick Fury's going to understand what that means even though it's not Nick Fury. I found that, see, that's another part about the scroll part that I just don't like.
Yeah.
Like, um, there's a lot of the scroll stuff that I just don't like with involving Secret Invasion. We'll get into all of that when we do Secret Invasion. But yeah, I liked Happy in this episode. Episode. Well, I guess it's an episode of the MCU. I liked Happy in this movie. I liked that. I mean, it's a little weird that he's like macking on Aunt May, but Aunt May in this movie is like not an old lady either. Like Marissa Tomei is gorgeous. Like why wouldn't Happy try to like get with Aunt May? Um, I like that for this MCU version of Aunt May, they went with a younger actress as Aunt May with Marissa Tomei because it vibes. Her and Peter vibe together. Like I think about that scene in Homecoming where she's like trying to get him ready for Homecoming and like teaching him how to dance and all of that stuff. Like
Yeah.
she just fits this version of Spider-Man better, I think, than it would have been if they'd, cast a, I don't know, 60, 70-year-old actress to play Aunt May.
Aunt May, yeah. I will say though, Sally Field. I like Sally Field's Aunt May too. I
Sally
think
Field
they
was great, yeah.
like
I don't
all of them.
remember
I think
who the other Aunt May was, but yeah. The
uh,
versions of Aunt May that we've gotten, I think, fit the Spider-Man that we've gotten. Like I
absolutely, hundred
think
percent.
they fit the take on the character in those movies, and I think Marissa Tomei's is just perfect for this take on Spider-Man. Because Tom Holland actually plays him young. He looks young. He plays him young. He's kind of naive at some points. Like it just makes more sense to me that this is the type of Aunt May that we got here.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see. MJ and Ned. Any thoughts on them in this movie?
Again, I keep going to the next movie. I feel like they get more of a role in that movie. Like, obviously, MJ
Yeah.
is important. She figure out who Peter is.
Yeah.
And Ned, is his friend and everything like that. But like, they feel like secondary characters. Where in the next movie they feel like almost like
They're
the
more
main.
important in the next
They're more
one.
important. Um, not much. I'm trying to think back of when this all was going on. Like, were people complaining about Zendaya and things like that? I don't remember. I know people were upset that she was kind of like this emo version of it of MJ.
Yeah.
MJ. Um, so I was cool with everything that they did in the movie. Nothing too harsh on it.
Yeah, I actually really like this take on MJ. She's not Mary Jane Watson, so she can be a different character even though she shares initials with her. And I like the way that they, made her more adult, if you will, than her age because she's talking about, the things that she gets into in Homecoming are very like abstract things that you wouldn't necessarily think about when you're a 15, 14-year-old girl. But she's that's what attracts Peter to her though, in a way, is this she's different. And I like that he's just like thinking all this stuff about MJ. It's all about MJ. And MJ's doing the same thing, but first she tries to just like play it off that it's cuz he's Spider-Man. And they finally when they, tell each other how they feel, I thought it was great. Just fabulous. And the fact that the necklace gets broken and she's still wearing that same necklace in the Brand New Day trailer is like cool, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and you caught on to that very quickly, so that was a very good catch by you.
Yeah, I like the fact that they really seem to love each other. I mean, we get more of that in the third movie in No Way Home. But you can tell that they like each other. And it's in that awkward 16-year-old teenager way. Like until we get together, we're going to be really awkward around each other because we are friends and we don't want to ruin the friendship thing. And, what if I say the wrong thing? And, like, she was so convinced he was Spider Man. And then she was like, I was actually only 67% convinced you were Spider Man, which I thought was very funny.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like their relationship, and I like that we saw like the beginnings of it in this movie. I love how he had a whole plan and nothing about his plan went right. Even the necklace broke, but she still liked it better that way, anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
The teachers, Mr. Harrington, Martin. That's Martin Starr, right? That plays Mr. Harrington.
I believe so.
I think it's Martin Starr from Silicon Valley. He is also in The Incredible Hulk. He's when Edward Norton sneaks into the library or whatever, the computer lab at the university. He's there with pizza or something. Um, got long hair and stuff. And then he also plays this teacher at the school. So they've said that's the same character. He went to whatever university that was in Incredible Hulk, and now he's a teacher at Peter's school. I like when they do little connectivity things like that if they use the same actor for something. What about you?
Yeah, I do like, and you kind of tie in because technically Incredible Hulk is part of the MCU.
Yeah.
So, uh, the fact that they tied that in was pretty cool. Uh, um, what was I
And then we had
saying?
JB Smooth as the other teacher. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember
yeah.
his name. And I love how he was like, "This is science," and this is a science trip, and these are the science students, and all this stuff. But he's convinced the elementals is all witches. That cracked me up. Like, as a man of science, what do you think is doing this? And he was like, "Witches." It just was very funny. Um, yeah. We got Ferris in the chat saying he loves Spider Man. I think both of us love Spider Man too, Ferris. He's just such a great character, and I like that he's not an adult, like on the same like level as the other heroes we have in the MCU. I like that. I mean, he by the time we get to Brand New Day, he's an adult. But like in this movie and in Homecoming, and even in No Way Home, he's just a kid still. Like, and
Yeah.
he's being faced with like a ton of responsibility. And we'll get to it when we review No Way Home. But I do love that Aunt May's like last words to him were the, with great responsibility line that is supposed to go to Uncle Ben, right? So, Ferris saying we have confirmation that witches are real, so JB Smoove was right, maybe? No, because it was all illusions, Ferris, that Mysterio was doing. Um, I don't think he was a witch. What do you think, Shug?
I mean, we do have witches in the MCU, so
We do have
Ferris is right
witches in
about
the
it.
MCU,
Ferris
yeah.
is right about that, but yeah, I don't think, I don't, I think Ferris is, he's just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Anything else about this movie you want to talk about, Shug?
I mean, we do get the reveal of J. Jonah Jameson,
Oh yeah, the J. Jonah Jameson thing. We have to talk about that.
reprised by J.K. Simmons. So that was pretty cool and
I
cool.
love that they made the Daily Bugle like an InfoWars kind of website instead of like an actual legitimate newspaper and stuff. And
Yeah,
he's like
it fits the
Alex Jones,
time.
like
Yeah.
yeah, it fits the time that we're in. And he's like Alex Jones doing these like investigative reporting stuff on things. Ferris is just saying he isn't crazy for saying witches. I didn't say he was crazy for saying witches. He's not. There are witches. It's just that was not what was causing the elementals. Um, I did like that cameo because it is a cameo in this movie, where he just reveals Peter's identity,
Well,
and that
that's what I was getting to. The big thing
yeah
that Beck does is he reveals Spider Man's identity, and we're left with this him holding his head, going what the, and it cuts out.
yeah
Kind of cool, cool way to kind of do it. And before the next movie, I honestly was like, why are they doing this? Because this was kind of like a Civil War storyline in the comics. So I was
mm-hmm
like, what are they doing? Makes sense now when you see the third movie of
the
why
third
they did
movie yeah
it, and it made it really cool. So at first I was a little worried, but after I was like, okay, I like what they did with it. So, but that was huge seeing J.K. Simmons, and then obviously seeing the reveal of Spider-Man's identity and how Beck
yeah
altered the video.
altered
When
the
he said
video
when he
yeah
says execute. He was trying to stop it, and it made it look like he was trying to kill everybody.
kill
Um,
everybody yeah
so that was actually pretty dope. I like that.
yeah. I thought it set up the third movie really well. I know that it was a few years before we got the third movie in this trilogy, but I thought that this was a good mid credit scene. The post credit scene, like I mentioned, set up something that took another like I think 5 years to get here, and was terrible. So I don't like the post credit scene, but the mid credit scene is great. I do like the way they presented J. Jonah Jameson in this MCU universe, and the J.K. Simmons was just so good at that role. that I'm glad they brought him back to be the MCU's J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's your final verdict on this movie, Shug?
Are we doing it out of 5?
Yeah, out of 5.
I would say this is a 4 for me. I would say it was a 4. I liked it. It was a good movie. Very fun. I think it's hard because like you got the Toby's second movie was so great, and this one was good. But Toby's third movie shits the bed, and this third movie was probably one of the best MCU movies ever. So,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
When we get to No Way Home, it will be interesting for us on this show because it will be a rewatch for you and Ferris if he joins us. It will be a first-time watch for me because I've never seen No Way Home. I know a lot of what happens in No Way Home, but I've never actually seen it. So that'll be a first-time watch for me. I'm waiting to watch it to do it on the show. For the show. I would give this movie, a 4. I think this movie accomplished something that would have been incredibly difficult for a lot of the other franchises within the MCU franchise that they had going on right now, which was following up Endgame. Like, this was the next movie after Endgame, and it was only a couple of months later. So, this had a really hard job to follow up Endgame, and I think it did a pretty good job. It touched on, Tony being gone, and the effects that would have on Peter Parker, given the relationship between the two of them that had been set up throughout the MCU. And I thought it did a really good job of that. Like I said, I thought it captured all the awkward teenage romance stuff pretty well. And Mysterio, I didn't know how they were going to actually accomplish doing Mysterio in live action, but they did a great job. I thought they did a great job with that. So I'd give it a 4 as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, because the show's going to be every other week, to discuss episodes 1 and 2 of WandaVision. I'm very much looking forward to getting into WandaVision with you, Shug.
Yeah, can't wait.
Shug, where can people find you?
Right now, they can find me on, obviously, the Rewatchers Council for Marvel. You can also find me on our new baseball show, 90 Feet. With Ryan and Ferris talking some baseball. You can find me on Steel Conspiracy, talking Steelers, Broncos with my good friend Adelia. We'll be back with that show very soon. We have just been super busy and life is just lifing right now. And you can also find me doing I'm gonna be doing some episodes of the Invincible show, talking about that. So yeah, you can find me anywhere, both on Good Friends, Better Rivals, and the post credits channel. So make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and thank you for everybody that comes and hangs out and watches our stuff. Appreciate you.
Yeah. We are 11 subscribers away from 1100 on this channel, so please subscribe here. And if you would please, if you're interested in sports, go over to our sister channel, Good Friends, Better Rivals, which is where all the sports shows Shug just listed off live, and subscribe over there. Over there, we are 7 away from 400. We set little goals on these channels and try to accomplish them, so please help us get to 400 on Good Friends, Better Rivals and 1100 on this channel soon. Thank you very much. I am on starting 11 over on Good Friends, Better Rivals. That will be coming back not next week, but the week after with a World Cup group breakdown. Me, Snark, and Ferris are going to be doing that. And then you can find me on this show when we have it every other Thursday at 5:30 Pacific. And like I said, next up we've got WandaVision, which is one of my favorite things the MCU has ever done. So I can't wait to get into it again. Thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate it. Please like and share the video, and we will see you next time. Bye.